Hey guys, MJ675 here, and today I'm going to be doing a comparison between these two sets. So the set numbers for each are on the screen underneath which one it is. The one on your right is from 2013, and the one on your left came out 3 years later in 2016, and is clearly obvious is a remake of the 2013 one. So I'm going to be comparing these two sets today, as you would know if you read the title of this video, and I'm going to be doing so for 3 categories, the first of which is the figure selection, the second of which is the display, you know, how good it looks on display and whatnot, and the third is play features. So without further ado, let's get into and start by comparing the figure selections of these two sets. Here are the figures included in each of the two sets, same as before. The ones on the right are from 2013 and the ones on the left are from 2016. So let's just take a look at these figures, starting out with the 2013 one because it came first. So you can kind of notice now that both of these sets do share a similar format for their figures. They each include 1 Jedi, 1 clone trooper, and then 2 battle droids of different versions, obviously. But let's start by comparing these 2 Jedi. So both of these Jedi have green lightsabers. One is Yoda, and I do not know the name of the other one. I'll put it on screen right now. And this Jedi is exclusive to the set that it came out in, but this figure right here has appeared in a few other sets. I believe this one has also appeared in Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. I don't know if it's the exact same minifigure, but I believe it is a very similar one, as well as a very similar one appearing in the Yoda's Hut set that just came out not very long ago. I don't know, depending on when this goes up, it could be a long time ago. But overall, if I had to pick one of these 2 figures, I'd pick this one because it's exclusive and you can get this Yoda in other sets. Now let's take a look at these 2 clone troopers. So here they are. You do get a standard white Phase 1 clone trooper in the 2013 set, but you do get a Kashyyyk clone trooper in the 2016 set. So the Kashyyyk clone trooper is obviously a bit more unusual than the standard white clone trooper, but if I had to pick one to get, I would pick the standard white clone trooper because you can use it in more circumstances than a standard Kashyyyk trooper. So now let's talk about the droids included in the set. So this set does include 2 droid minifigures for each one. The one in the 2013 are super battle droids, and the ones that are in the 2016 one are regular battle droids. So between these 2, even though super battle droid legs break more, I think I would have to go with super battle droids just because, again, they are more rare. So overall, the 2013 version of this set gets 1 point for having a better minifigure selection than the 2016 version. Now let's take a look at the builds and figure out how good of displays they make. Alright, so now let's take a look at the builds of the set for display factor. So this is going to be mainly taking a look at, you know, how the builds look and what kind of poses you can get out of them, and, you know, all that fun sort of stuff. So let's first start by taking a look at the dwarf spider droids, which are on the screen now. It's keeping the same stuff. The one on the right is from 2013, the one on the left is from 2016. So let's start over here. So as you can see, these are very similar builds. They both use a very similar system for legs. But the only main differences between these are the antenna, which this one has a much shorter antenna, and the gun on the front, which this one has a longer gun on the front. So that's that, I guess. So now we'll take a brief look at the differences on this one. This one has a longer antenna up here, and the gun is different, as well as it can pose around and you can fire the stud off of it if you so choose. So those are those 2 right there. So I'm going to do the conclusion for these 2 now, and we'll do the other 2 because they're really big and I have to zoom the camera out after that. So overall, if I had to choose one for posability and just general good display value, I would pick this one. It doesn't have the weird looking stud shooter, and if I'm honest, this antenna just really looks weird to me. I don't know what is up with it. It just looks really absurd. And I just like this smaller one a lot more. Even if this one is more accurate, I do like this one just a lot more based on the way it looks. So if I had to choose one, go with the 2013 one right here. So now let's take a look at the homing spider droids. Alright, so now let's take a look at the homing spider droids following the same pattern as before. Let's start with the 2013 one. So here it is. Obviously we're talking about displayability here. You do have these 2 guns. They do not rotate, just like this one. No rotation here. And the head does rotate, which is the same for both of them, but you will notice that between these two, there is no spot for a figure on the back of this one, which for display value I like, but for play value might not be as good. You also do get this flick firing missile up here, which I'm not going to fire off. You do not get anything to fire down here, but this gun looks awesome. And down here you have the rapid fire 6 stud shooter, and then you have nothing up here. So that's just kind of meh. And then over here we have with the legs, the leg designs between these two are actually, I believe, identical, but the difference is in the friction pins or the non-friction pins in the legs. So this one has a friction 3-long pin right here, so that when you move it it'll stay, but all of these are frictionless pins, which means that whenever you try to set it down, you can either get it like this, or if you bump one leg, it'll just kind of all come back in. It's really easy just to move the legs. Even if you set it down, sometimes it'll just come back to that position, which is something I don't really like. But this one has the frictionless pins on the leg rotation, and it does have friction pins on these ends and not here, so that you can position the legs however you want, which I think they did right on this model. But if we're talking about, because for me, I like the guns on this one, I do not like the guns on this one. I like how they did the pins on this one, but I do not like how they did the pins on this one. And also, I'm not a huge fan of this part back here, but that's just another fix. So the question is, basically, when I'm comparing these two, do I want to have these weird looking guns and something that probably isn't even on the real version of the droid? Or do I want these normal, cool looking guns and to just have the droid look like it probably does? And even though the positioning is not really there as much on this model as on this model, what it comes down to for me is which is an easier fix. And from my view, it's going to be an easier fix just to remove these legs and change out the pins than it's going to be to remove these and get the pieces to build these and then just completely rebuild it. And in fact, when I do change this one to look more like the 2013 one, I am probably going to have to do a bricklink order just to get those pieces, because I do not have all those pieces. And another thing that's worth mentioning that I did not mention when I did review this set, which I will put a card up onto the screen now if you want to go see that, is that if you look down here at this gun, there's something different besides just the gun being different. There's only 2 of these disc pieces right here, whereas there are 3 on here. And if you push this all the way up like I did, you won't really notice anything. But if you do pull these down, and I know I just pulled the whole thing off, you can kind of see that there is a bit of space for this to move about. And it becomes more apparent when I actually push the discs down all the way. But I don't really like that, to be honest, and I'm going to pull this off to fix it real quick, because I just pulled out the thing. But now that I have put it back on, you can kind of see what I mean, is that this still has some room to move on it, and I don't really like that, to be honest. So for me, when it comes down to looks, it's which of these 2 features that I want is going to be easier to add to the other one. So I've got to go again with the 2013 one. So overall, the 2013 one does win the display/looks category. So now let's talk about the play value of these sets. Alright, so now let's talk about the play value of these 2 sets. And I will just like to make a note before we begin this topic, is that because the minifigures on this set, on these 2 sets, let's face it, are so interchangeable, they're not really a factor in play at all. I mean, maybe the super battle droids are a bit more hard to take down than the regular battle droids, but overall, the figures are pretty much interchangeable for play, because most kids that are playing with this probably aren't going to be looking at the lore and the movies and all that stuff to figure out which droid dies faster. They'll probably just look at the name and then just give this one give the supers invincibility for seemingly no reason. And that's how I did it when I grew up. So that was fun, just making them really hard to kill, or just making them one shot like everything else. So now that we've kind of talked about that, let's get into the play features here. So I know I've kind of mentioned some of the play features already, but we'll go over them again, starting out with the 2013 one, because it will be much faster. Besides posability and, aiming this lower gun, which both of them can do, and aiming this gun and walking it around and all that fun stuff, the only real posability or playability that you have is moving this, which is posability, and the other one can do, and this flick missile up here. But moving over to the 2016 version, you do have a lot more play features. You do have the stud shooter on the Dwarf Spider Droid, you do have the Rapid 6 stud shooter on the Homing Spider Droid, and you also do have the little back spot where you can slot in one of your battle droids to quote-unquote pilot the vehicle, or you can just put Yoda up there so he can slice up the top of the vehicle. At least as it is in that set, it's actually a droid, not a vehicle. So as far as accuracy goes, obviously I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think that should have been there. But anyway, that's enough of that. So overall, the 2016 version does have more play features than the 2013 version, so even though I do like flick missiles, they can be harder to use at times, so I gotta give it to the 2016 model for having more play features, in fact having 2 more than the 2013 one. So now it is time for the conclusion of this comparison to see which set won according to this comparison. So now that we have taken a look at both of these sets, it is time for the conclusion of the video, which set did better and is, at least by this test, a better set. So once again, we did have the 3 different categories of minifigure selection, playability, which did kind of include posability, posability was also kind of included in display value. So we do have our 3 different topics. In the order we went over them was minifigure selection, display value, and play value. So just kind of to recap, I know that I mentioned all this stuff when we did the segments, but the minifigure selection was taken by the 2013 version of this set. The displayability section was taken by, again, the 2013 version of the set, and the playability section was taken by the 2016 version of the set. So according to the way that this works, and that it won 2 out of the 3 categories, the better set out of this lot is the 2013 version of the Homing Spider Droid set. So right here we have our winner. So if I had to buy one of these sets, I would go for this one. But depending on what you want, you can buy either. I'm not going to tell you what to buy or not, because that's up to you. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this comparison. And if you want me to do more of these, then let me know. But that's going to do it for this video. Once again, guys, if you want to see my review of that, that will be in the end cards. You can go watch my review of the 2016 version of the Homing Spider Droid set. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.